Brenda Miller, and I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Basking Ridge, New Jersey. And I go live every Wednesday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time to share with you some of the things that we've been working on here in my little office over here. And today we are going to make a cute little spring card using the Woolly Friends bundle. So I'm going to take you over to my desktop and just go ahead and get started. So here we are. I'm going to do that. Okay, so this is the Woolly Friends stamp set, and you can see that we're talking about a sheep here, a little sheep that is just so darn cute, and it coordinates with a punch. So here's the punch, and you can see that it's a builder punch because we can punch out the body, we can punch out the face. So here's the body, here's the face. We can also punch out the bow, or we can punch out we can punch out the little cowbell there. So I haven't really done much with these two little pieces because they're a little fussy and little, but we made a card at my recent stamp stack, and I wanted to share with you today how we did that. So let's go ahead and take a look. So we start with a piece of Balmy Blue cardstock, and this is the standard 8.5 by 5.5, and I just fold it in half, and I use my bone folder to give it a good score. So we have that. And then, even though Balmy Blue is a light color, I went ahead and put a piece of white on the inside of the card, and I'm just using my stamp and seal to do that. So put that on the inside. It just makes it a little bit easier when writing on the inside your messages. You can also stamp the inside, of course. I don't tend to do that just because I never know exactly what's going to be a good sentiment, etc. And then I took another piece of this white willow cardstock and put it through an embossing folder. This embossing folder is called Beautiful Patterns, and I don't know why, but I didn't bring it over here with me, so can't show you the folder, but it is currently available as far as I know. And I'm going to use some wet adhesive in order to put this down. I like to use the wet adhesive. This is some people call it green glue, but it's the multi-combo, multi-mono liquid glue. And I like to do that because when there's texture, you want to get into those nooks and crannies and give it a better chance of adhering. I talk about it all the time, but wet glue probably is the strongest glue that we have for adhesive in general, because once it dries, boy, it does not come apart. So it's really something that is a good thing to have on hand. Okay, so that is our card base, and I already screwed it up. Isn't that amazing? So the other thing is that if you catch it before it dries, you can peel it up, which is a wonderful thing. See, you know, you never know what you're going to learn here on a live. And what I meant to do was to wrap a piece of ribbon around this before I put this on. So I'm just using some of my my Stampin' Seal to put it on the sides. And of course, I don't think I did it very evenly, but I just want to wrap this around, and this is just going to kind of tie the card together. You'll see when we put the other pieces on. I want to try to get it straight. It looks fairly straight. And now, you know what? I'm going to put a little more glue on and put it back on the card, and hopefully it won't look too lumpy. So I don't know why, but I always forget that step, even though I know absolutely I want to put the ribbon on. So this ribbon is the Balmy Blue gingham ribbon, and it is just so pretty. And it's going to be great for baby boys too, or babies in general, baby cards, but it's also great with any of your spring type cards. You can see I have a little, there we go. I had a little extra piece there. So, okay, we didn't screw it up too badly there. All right, so we've got that now, and now I'm going to put it aside. And I'm going to start working on our little scene that we're going to create. And what I like to do, I remember I'm using a glass mat here, so I know I'm going to be stamping off the edges a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and put it on to a piece of paper here. Unfortunately, it still makes it hard to see. You can see I recycle paper, and I always just use the reverse side for my um, pieces like this. So I'm going to take my Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and I am going to ink up the saying that says sending flowers and sunshine, which makes it just perfect for a spring card. So tap, 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 and I'm going to go ahead. I'm pulling it down a little just so I can see. Hopefully get this straight. And there we go, sending flowers and sunshine. Just a happy little card, right? And then also I want to create a little bit of a background. I'm going to be putting a sheep on there, okay? So I'm going to take my Balmy Blue ink pad, and I'm taking my blending brush. And what I do is I keep, rather than washing them all the time, I keep them with the same color family. So whenever I'm using a blue, I'll use this one. If I use a green, I'll use a different one. You can see that, you know, there's still a little bit of color in here, and I could have just used it, but I'm going to go ahead and tap, 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 and then I'm tapping off to make sure that I'm not going to have a big glop here. And then when I work with the blending brushes, I like to hold the top of it like this, just because I can put a little pressure on there, and you can see how this is just creating a little bit of a background without actually stamping anything on it. See? Doesn't it look pretty? Well, you'll see how it looks when it all comes together. So that's really all I'm using the Balmy Blue for. And then this set has some cute little accents, and so I'm going to use my Shy Shamrock. Shy Shamrock is one of those colors. It's an in color from 2024 to 2026, meaning that at the end of this month it will be gone, or actually the beginning of May 5th. You will not be able to get this in color and a couple of the others. So I just put a little grass at the bottom, and you can see I didn't exactly do it straight. That wasn't deliberate, but it is what it is. And then I'm going to take my black ink pad again, and I'm going to ink up a little set of tulips. Aren't those cute? Perfect timing. And rather than using the green, I'm going to use the black for this. And I'm going to just line up some tulips so that they're growing. And you can see at both sides, I knew that this was narrow, so I went off the edge on both sides, hence the reason why I wanted some paper underneath here. Now, I could have taken some markers and just gone ahead and colored those in, but rather than doing that, this stamp set has some really cute little accents, like I mentioned, and these are the leaves that go. This is how you can color the leaves, just with a stamp. So I'm going back to that Shy Shamrock, inked it up, and remember I went off the edge on this, so I'm just looking for my leaves, and I'm just stamping right through, and with the clear photopolymer it makes it very easy to see through, and I can line them up. And I'm telling you, these are some of the easiest ones that I've used to be able to line them up. I'm going to take some Strawberry Slush. Strawberry Slush is another in color, however, it is in the 2025 to 2027 family, so we get to hang on to Strawberry Slush for another year. And I'm just using little tulip stamps to color in those tulips. And there we have our little flowers in the background. I just love the way that these came together. So simple. Okay, so we've got a little background going on here. And I'm going to take a second, and I'm just going to mount this onto a piece of Balmy Blue two-tone cardstock. And you can see one side is dark and one side is light. I'm going to use the light side. And this is cut to be just 1/8 of an inch larger all the way around. All the dimensions can be found at the bottom of this video in the text that I have there. All the dimensions are there. Okay, so we don't need our scrap paper anymore. Now we're going to work on our sheet. Now, what we could do is with our Memento Tuxedo Black ink pad, we can we're going to be stamping the head and the body. And rather than just stamping on here and then, using the stamp to line it up and cut it out. What we're going to use is a template. And I've shown this before, but all I did was I took a piece of Secret C cardstock and I punched it out. Okay, so you can see that it lines up, and if I had punched it out, and then I use this as my template. And I just overlay this piece of white willow cardstock, and I'm just adhering down. Actually, I'm going to adhere it, rather than adhering it to my glass mat, I'm going to just adhere these two together. I did happen to cut them the same size, and that way that's going to stay in place. And I'm going to ink up the body of the sheep, and I'm just going to line it up and look through and try to get it into that hole as best as I can. And there you have it. You can see that I've stamped it on the inside, and I'm going to do the same thing with the sheep's head, and you can see that somebody used this as a template to actually cut it out, which we're not going to do. So it makes the little edges a little ragged, but you can see that now it's in the exact position so that when I take my punch, and you always use your punches upside down so you can see what you're doing, and I'm just going to slide that in to the top and line up the body and the head so that I can just punch it in one fell swoop. All right, I think I'm doing it pretty well here, and I'm just going to use my two hands punch, and you can see my pieces have been cut out and everything was just in the right spot. So that's a little trick for you for when you're using a builder punch. Okay, so we've got our pieces together. So now let's go ahead and finish our card. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is take a piece of this Balmy Blue beautiful bokeh paper, and I cut it down. It's 2 by 3 approximately, and this beautiful bokeh 6 by 6 designer series paper is still available, I believe, but I think it is on the last chance list. And I love this paper. It's just very subtle. It comes in 5 or 6 different colors, Balmy Blue being one of them, and I was excited to be able to use some because I'd been hoarding them, which is not uncommon for me. So I'm going to use some wet adhesive again because I'm going to put this right onto the card, and this time I'm going to tuck it under. Okay, I'm just tucking it under, and this is just going to give like kind of a sky background, right? Isn't that cute? So there we go. And then I'm going to take this one and I'm going to put it on using dimensionals. And I'm just going to use 2. I find that using dimensionals are quick and easy. All right, and so I'm going to put that on another angle. And this template was one that had been published in a recent, not last year's catalog, but I think even the one before that. And so I've seen it used lots of different ways. I was inspired for this card from someone who had sent me a swap, and they used this something very similar to this design. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add the body for my little sheep. So I'm going to use a dimensional on top. And yeah, we're covering up some of those adorable little flowers, but that's okay because we know they're back there, right? And before I put his little head on, I decided I wanted to use a little wink of Stella. Everything's better with a little wink of Stella. And all wink of Stella is this, it's like a water-based paint that has sparkles in it. And I'll show you. When you look at it, can you see? Oh, there you go. You can actually see the sparkles. And so it's clear. And so I'm just giving his body a little sparkles because I can, right? And that's how I look at things. I love to use Wink of Stella whenever I can. And I'm just doing his body. I'm not going to do his head. That's okay. All right. So he's a little sparkly. So I'm going to make some of that, fun sparkly wool that you can get, that has the glitter in it. Anyway, we're going to put his little head on, and I like to put it at a jaunty little angle, and that's the card, and of course we always want to put something a little extra on. Yes, we have some ribbon, but let's go ahead and add some of these iridescent pearl basic jewels. They are still available. And they are not on the last chance list, which I'm very excited about because I love to use these. They're quick and easy to use. They have just that little bit of glimmer to them. And whoops, we got a little extra one down here. Come on back. And we need one more, and I think I'm going to put a little one over here just to draw the eye around the card. And there you have it. So this adorable little card can be used for anything. And of course you could change the sentiment if you wanted to. That has a couple of other cuties. Welcome cutie for a little baby, right? You're simply fabulous and you make me happy. So little puns, but it makes it a lot of fun. So that's today's card, and I hope that you learned a couple of things. Maybe you haven't masked before, maybe you haven't used the blending brushes for your backgrounds, some two-step stamping. If you have any questions, you can feel free to send me a message or put it in the comments. But as I said, all of the dimensions and all of the products used are in the description of this video, and I hope you'll use it and create your own. So thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.